A few people have asked me if there's anything they can help out with. For now, just keep liking and subscribing, and obviously you can only subscribe once, but thanks very much. Hey, welcome back to Grant's Yard. Today we'll be carrying on with the vintage horse box trailer camper conversion. Stick some things, you'll see me paint some things. You'll even see me drilling some things. Stick around to see how I got on. The first job of the day was to remove the big sheet of 18mm plywood, and then I needed to clean off all the degreaser that I'd left on the frame. Next, I was able to apply the rust converter to the little bits of rust that were on the frame. I have to say, there wasn't much at all to deal with. Once I've done all this, we've got the floor in, and weather dependent, when it's suitable, I'll lift up the horse box. And I'll get underneath it and give it a proper paint underneath. I've got a front loader, sort of ball hitch front loader, and I can use the chain on the tractor, which will just help lift it up. Now, rust converter doesn't get rid of rust, it just sort of subdues it, makes it less active. There's different claims for different. Some people swear by this. I watch a lot of YouTube channels where they, certainly on boats, use rust converter for everything. You only really have to apply this to the actual rust areas, not on the paint or stuff like that. But as I've got light pitting right across it, I'm sort of doing right over. It won't harm having it on the paint, but it is a waste of product, obviously. So I did wire brush this beforehand to try and get off any excess paint, any excess rust and stuff like that. As I say, I'll lift it up at another time and do the bottom, because unless I can see the bottom, I can't actually wire brush it well enough. And where it's harder, you need a really good steel brush sort of to get at it, to make sure you get everything you need. Okay, so we've left this to dry now, and it's time to get some painting done, because we've only got about an hour of daylight left, I'm guessing. Yeah, it's all dry, it's good. I'll start in this corner. It shouldn't take me too long to do. Slap it on. This, I am painting very quick, but this is all about getting into all of the cracks and crevices and pitted bits and everything. So with the level of rust that this had on it, which is minimal on these bits, I could have got away without doing the rust converter anyway, with painting this stuff on. But I figured it best to do it anyway. It's not going to hurt. And for peace of mind, you know, before when I had the floor down and it was the decking board, I don't think it had been down that long. The previous owner seemed to think that he'd only put it down recently. I said seemed to think, he wasn't sure, but he's how long ago, but he was like, oh, it's within the last year. So it hadn't been down long, and it certainly wasn't rotten. I had someone comment on the last video about they didn't think it was rotten. It wasn't rotten at all. It was, you could hear how dry it was. That wasn't the problem. The problem was what was on top of it was getting damp, and it was that was worrying me. That it was the fact that water was going to get through and then sit there. It would then soak up all the water and then would start to get damp and go rot. And where this, you know, it's potentially going to stand around a lot, and certainly in the winter. Well, where we are on Dartmoor, it doesn't take long for things to start to get really damp. It's just peace of mind. I was sort of obsessing over the fact that I'd sort of bodged it in place and thought, that'll be all right. And then I kept thinking about it. I couldn't stop thinking about it. And that's why I decided to, do you know what, I'll get the aluminium and I'll just deal with it. So I feel a lot better, the fact that I've dealt with it. It means that I know the frame's been done. At this point, I realise I'm rambling on, so I think we'll speed this up and finish the paint job. I'm still thinking about what to do with this space. I was speaking to a friend and he was suggesting, you know, like you could extend it out or have something where you get a canopy, go out like a canvas bit, like a tent, which I'd thought, and then the problem is because it's so narrow, it would add space, but not necessarily important space. I still think I need to move that ramp. I need to move that up to the top, I think. I've sort of almost settled on that now. I did think that I could actually mount it on the side and open it sideways and have sort of a kitchen that opens. You know, I can actually fix the kitchen to it as such. I wouldn't have the sink and all that there, but if I have a bench here and I have a pull-out kitchen and the door opens, but on the door, because it's gone like that, you can have maybe cupboard, shelf, utensils, whatever. Obviously, you can't have things just hanging up because this is a horse box. It's going to jump around loads when you're towing it. But I mean, that'd be pretty cool. You then park it and orientate it so that the door would sort of block the wind. So that's one idea. If I have it lifting up, it would be pretty cool because I'd be able to shelter under it and still cook, although it wouldn't be sheltered from the wind because the wind would just blow under. But it's not a huge problem anyway, he says, while sat out of the wind. I think it might be a clear sky tonight, so once I finish this, I'm thinking about popping my trail cam just up by the trees there, see what is around at night. Be interesting to see. I'll put it up there for a couple nights maybe. Let's have a look. It's likely to be deer, maybe fox. I haven't seen any signs of badgers, and there are definitely some stray cats around because we pick them up on the CCTV. They trigger off the motion sensor CCTV quite often in the night. They're sneaking around. It's probably why we don't have much vermin here. Light is fading. It's getting later in the evening, but I'm going to take the trail cam up, put it in the woods. I think there's some sheep nearby at the moment, so I might scare them. But we'll take it up and we'll set it and then we'll check it in the next couple of days and see what we've got. With the light fading and so much work still to do the next day, I decided to go home. I left the camera to do a time lapse for the beautiful sunset. Enjoy. So I was really excited about getting the floor in and I got up to the yard really early. But first I needed to remove the wires that go through to the indicators and the brakes at the back before I could actually put the floor down. So what I'm doing is I'm taking this light off so that I can then disconnect the wire because I want to put the wire right under the floor. Here's the wires we've just taken off. That's done that, it's freed the floor up, boom. So the next thing we need to do is the SikaFlex. We'll obviously prepare that, get that laid down on top of the black paint. I did touch a couple of areas up the first thing this morning, nothing significant enough really to need to show on camera. But yeah, I touched some bits up this morning and now it's ready to go. Excited. Now would be a perfect time to subscribe and like this video. I started by carefully measuring and then cutting the sheet aluminium to size and then moved on to adding the SikaFlex to the frame of the horse box. Okay, so SikaFlex is cut ready to go. Stick it in the gun then we'll start laying it down. I want an unbroken line all the way around the edge. That is my main sticky bit. There are some little bits of water that's made its way in from condensation from the cold overnight. I left the doors open just to try and let the air move freely around last night, which does seem to have helped, to be fair. Right, hang that there. Let's get back to it. Unbroken line. So I'm going to do this one continuous unbroken line, then I'm going to add a second. It's not overly hot today, so this won't go off really quickly, but obviously once it's laid, time does matter. So I've got the aluminium ready to go. Oh no! I need that side to go in first. Obviously I can't walk on it at the moment because it's such thin aluminium. So I'll get the other piece down and then we'll put the big piece of plywood down so that we can at least put some pressure on it. The plywood won't stay there though because it needs sealing before it can go down. I want to get this right to the edge of where the two pieces are going to join. I will then seal it underneath once I lift it up and do the painting of the ironwork. I've had to rotate it like this so that the bent up corner piece is in this corner. Right, let's knock that down. It's checked it for size. Now it's time to come out again. So now that the aluminium floor was laid and stuck down, it was time to just join it with some aluminium tape just to make sure that the water didn't get through. So where the join is, I'm just adding aluminium tape. I love the word aluminium. You notice I pronounce it aluminium, not aluminium. Aluminium, or aluminum for our American viewers. Yeah, I've joined it together with SikaFlex underneath, around here where the join is. But this is just in case, it's just to stop water coming up. So now it's time to move on to adding a coat of sealant to the wood. So sadly the camera just cut out then, don't know why. I've done one side of sealing this bit of wood, I'm now doing the other side. I've laid the dairy screen with the insulation on top, so yeah, I'll see if I can get any footage from the GoPro that was meant to be filming, but we'll see. So I actually left that to dry for about 2 hours. You can probably see by the shadows how much it's changed. I'm quite lucky here with the yard. The sun rises over the east over there, sets the west over there. So most of the day we've got the sun here, but the main building I use for my business actually has a big shade area all day. It's quite nice actually. Right, this one is done. The other side is already done previously, but I'm going to put another coat on it once it's in. Okay, and I have got the other strip of wood that I need to put a coat on. Just remember that, I'll go and get that. Whoa. You okay? Yeah, good. So previously, when I first got the horse box, I put this floor down on top of the old wooden one, just so that I could, it was actually to go and collect some bits I'd bought and drop off some rubbish. And at the time, I did seal it. I put like an SBR sort of sealer on it, and I did that I didn't want it getting damp from above. I was a bit worried about the floor, but I thought it'd be all right. And it was after that I noticed that water was getting up. And by no means was the wood that I took out damp in terms of it wasn't rotting, but it was getting wet. And therefore long term, it would have sat there and it would have rotted. And more than that, it was playing on my mind. So I've decided to do it a little bit more properly. I wouldn't say this is by far pro build. I should think you can see that by the way I applied Danish oil, just let it go on the floor of my yard. But this is me. That's cool. That will now need fixing down. So I've put the join bit just here because it's furthest away from the door over here, and I could have done like I did with the aluminium, but then I've got joins in the same place and I know this already fits. I've got the insulation to go in these bits here. I can seal by the door once it's screwed in. And then this is going to be capped with some aluminium, which will then be fitted in place as well. So it'll be bolted to the metal underneath here, and then it'll have the aluminium angle iron to finish it off at the end. I'm hoping just fixing it down in them places is enough. If not, when the sideboards come on here, which I've already measured up, they should fit into place and hold this down as well. And then I'll look from there. I can always bolt straight through, but I'd rather not penetrate the aluminium at all. That's one of the reasons why I'm not wanting to bolt. It's also the reason why I've got to be very careful when I go through and put it to the wood below, because it goes through the join of the aluminium. I'm going to think about that a bit more. before I do it. At the moment, it's fine as it is, and that's sort of it for the day. I'll let everything dry off properly now and crack on again tomorrow. Happy days. Driving home that evening, I was witness to another beautiful sunset. On the way, I couldn't stop thinking about the floor and how I should bolt it down. I realised that if I'm sealing underneath it anyway, and if I had a little bit of SikaFlex into each drilled hole, then the bolts, they'd be secure and they would be watertight. The main reason why I wanted to bolt the floor down was so that I can anchor into it and things won't move about. The fact it's got the SikaFlex, as long as I don't tighten it too much, it gives that, not spring when you walk on it, but as the horse box moves while you're taking it along, it'll have that little bit of flex to it, which is quite important. What a beautiful day it is today. I'm glad to be out doing something like this. Although I do have the urge to go fishing. May have to go fishing very soon. Right, let's crack on. So it's really important to SikaFlex this into place. This bit here, there's a little bit of a gap there, but the problem is if water gets in, I want it to go on top of what will be the floor, whether it be lino or whatever. I don't want it going down, getting under. That's the worst case scenario. So it's a case of making sure everything is sealed in place, and for that we use the last bit of this SikaFlex. Something will then obviously go over this. It's not just going to stay like this. It's really important it is sealed. My computer modelling skills are absolute naff. But I like to work with visual. So I figure if I make cardboard sort of, not model, but representation. Okay, so as crude and rubbish as it is, this is the idea of the sort of size that one bench would be. But now I need to create what another bench would be. This is by no means what I think it's going to look like at this stage. I'm just trying to get a visual representation. I've also got to account for the fact that I'm going to have at least 30 mil lost from the sides when I put the boards in, and possibly even more, because I'm still toying with the idea of putting another set of insulation in. Now, I'm not worried about noise. This stuff's pretty good anyway, but the most use of this is going to be in the woods. So it's only really going to be natural noises. So I'm not too worried about sound insulation, although this works pretty well. Heat, yeah, you know, no one wants to be in a cold box, but my biggest worry is condensation. So making sure that it's insulated enough so that the metal doesn't condensate underneath, because that's where you start getting rust. I'm toying with the idea of a bench here, a fairly narrow walkway, something to pull out here or pull out here, in terms of a kitchen or something like that. I'm thinking about a kitchen at the end that can pull out that door so it can be an outside space, but you could also, from the bench, cook or heat or use the sink here. This would then turn into, as I see it, a double bed. It's 180 long up to the door. Well, I'm 185. Now I can cope with it being a little bit short. I'd rather it wasn't, but I can cope with that, certainly as I can sleep slightly diagonally. And my wife's about 5'6", so she would be fine with it anyway. I realise I'm using both metric and imperial there. Sorry to confuse people. I'm 6 foot, which is about 183, 185 centimetres, and my wife's about 5'5", I think. Next thing I'm going to do is make up a couple more boxes, put them here, put this wood on it just to see what it looked like. If I had 2 benches here, the idea is that I would probably have like a trestle like a boat would have, and have a table that then could lower into place as a double bed. In terms of use, if I'm using it for the woods, there's a good chance I'm on my own or I'm with a friend. Now, I don't know about other people, but I think most people who would be using this type of vehicle would probably be the same. It might be their partner, to be fair. But there's also the thought of possibly having bunk beds that come down from the side. Have one rigid unit and then have bunk beds that fold down. You get 2 good bunk beds in there. It could be on one of them pull downs. If I do have a double bed for me and my wife, I need somewhere for the kids to sleep. Now they could sleep on a ledge across there. They could sleep across there. They could sleep across here. These are all the things that I'm trying to think of at the moment to make sure I do it correctly, or so that I don't have regrets. To be fair, this is probably not the last conversion I'm ever going to do, because I've got the type of personality that likes to do things, even if not that professionally, but I like projects. Okay, let's crack on anyway. I'm so tight that I'm not even taping these boxes in case I can still use them again at another time. It's not a bad gap, to be fair. I'm trying to work out how deep these benches need to be. I think 40 would suffice. 45 is probably a little bit better though. If we work with 45 now, without taking into consideration those side walls, then it means we've always got room to drop back to 40. So 45 that side, 45 that side. Plenty of room to walk through, that's not a problem. It means the table would be roughly 45 again, which is plenty of room. But it means if I have a kitchen down this end, which would be good because it means I can use it sat down, but if I do have a kitchen down this end, it means I can't actually use this door anymore. Now, I've not got an issue with that. If we block this door up and use it as sort of storage into here, or you open the door and then you pull out the kitchen, the idea being is I could put an awning on if I wanted to. However, surely it'd be better, forget with this not being here, to be able to pull a drawer out with your whole kitchen just here. At the end of the day, camping, I'm certainly not going to cook in it because the whole place would stink. Then again, I could put a unit up high. No, I don't want to cook up high. But here, it would definitely, if I've not got sleeping here, it would definitely be worth having some cupboards or something above head height for when sitting. Probably where the curve is, bring them out sort of like that. Down this end, you could have almost all shelving. The advantage of having the kitchen down the other end, straight out on the front of the trailer, I'll show you where. I could put a gas locker just on here. Just sit there. That'd be perfect. If I took this back gate off, fix the bracket across, had it lift up, it would come out to about here. It would be above standing head height. Therefore, I would actually be able to stand underneath it. Then the kitchen pulls out. That'd be pretty cool. That'd be really cool, actually. It's kind of a case of taking this to bits, seeing what we've got and extending it. Because at the moment, it comes to here. I want it to go to there. Therefore, it needs to be bigger. Therefore, it needs cutting and welding and making a lot lighter. I could still use these springs if resituated, because they would be able to go so that it helps lift it up. It then means that I can lock it from the inside. It's so heavy at the moment. I think the whole thing would need redesigning. It's a bit above my welding skills,